Salutations Rangers, General Rally 101 back again with some more lore. The Space Marine, the poster boys of Warhammer 40k, and whether or not you like humanity, whether you're into Xenos, whether you're a Chaos boy, whatever it may be, the first thing you ever see when you get into Warhammer is a beautiful, glorious Space Marine of the Adeptus Astartes. Yet, what actually does make a Space Marine? Is it their arms and equipment? Is it their gene seed? What even is a gene seed? Can you make a Space Marine without gene seed? And what do you really need to make a Space Marine? On today's Warhammer 40k lore video, ladies and gentlemen, we're answering all those questions and much more as we find out what exactly is a Space Marine. So luckily from us, we're not starting from scratch, as we have a direct quote by none other than the creator of the Space Marines himself, John Space Marine, aka the Emperor of Mankind, about just what exactly Space Marines should be, quoted as such. "They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They shall be of iron will and steely sinew. In great armor I shall clad them, and with the mightiest weapons shall they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness shall blight them. They shall have such tactics, strategies, and machines that no foe can best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear." Right, so there you go, straight out of the horse's mouth. But like all things in Warhammer 40k, we can take a little bit more of an in-depth look into this and break it down. First thing first, they are the finest warriors, molded like clay, forged in war. So this means that a Space Marine has to be created, meaning that, well, yes, you have a Space Marine that is good, dandy, great, all fresh out of the box. He's not actually a Space Marine until he has served possibly decades and more. So from here, two things. One, has to be genetically created. Two, has to have a good bit of service under him. Next up, their will is iron, their sinew steel. Again, twofold one. Their will is iron. They will not break. They will not yield. They cannot be overcome like mortal men. Secondly, they are made of steel. Their bones do not break like ours. Their blood does not spill like ours. They are different. So, mental and physical. Mental, absolutely crazy. These guys will not break, they will not run. They're not like normal humans. Physically, they're also not like normal humans. Their bones don't break as easy, they have the different organs that keep them together. So amidst being together, Space Marine mentality basically is duty unto death. And when it comes to their actual physical capabilities, utterly crazy when compared to normal human beings. Next, their tactics, strategies, and machines mean no foe can best them. As we mentioned, they are created to be the best. They have iron will that is the best, meaning that their tactics and strategies can far exceed the normal capabilities of mortal men. In addition, so too their machines. Again, Space Marine tanks are geared for Space Marines who have faster reflexes, can withstand more G-forces, etc., so on and so forth. So from all this we can gather, Space Marines' gear and machines are basically just even above normal men as well. And finally, they are the defenders of humanity and know no fear. The biggest one that was arguably shattered the most during the heresy. They are the defenders of humanity. They are humanity's guards, their wards. They are the shield against the darkness, the bulwark against the terror. That's what they are. And of course, they know no fear. For how can fear overtake humanity if it meets an entity that is completely devoid of it? Lo and behold, that is the Space Marine. So, to sum all this up in a nice little round neat ball, the Space Marine is made by his body, his mentality, but more importantly, by their skills, equipment, and experience. And we see this in Horus Heresy directly. The Inducti, who were still technically Space Marines, were always counted by every single veteran legionary of lacking one thing: experience. Most notably, we have a Sons of Horus captain who during the Siege of Chthoniya lamented and how his boys, these Inducti, were less than the original legion. They were not the same. Now whilst there are many reasons for this, the biggest one is the fact that these guys did not have the decades of training and experience that the Great Crusade era veterans did, nor did they fight the similar foes. But with all that established, let's talk about the biggest thing that makes a Space Marine a Space Marine. If not in actuality, then in the sheer amount of stuff we have to talk about. Their biology, aka the gene seed of a Space Marine. A Space Marine is a genetically augments enhanced super soldier. They are taken from young ages, generally speaking prepubescent, but in some cases it can go above that, but you're thinking about 12-ish, maybe younger, it depends. But generally speaking, younger the better. and they are genetically augmented and modified to make them stronger, faster, and tougher than any normal mortal human could ever be. They are able to endure the harshest conditions without even the slightest concern. Good example we have are Zone Mortalis. Zone Mortalis meaning fatal ground. Basically, rad scoured deserts, Fallout type nonsense, or like super dangerous low oxygen vacuums of space. We see Space Marines in the Great Crusade operating like on Calth or during the Battle of Fall, where they just don't care. And part of this process involves the implantation of no less than 19 brand spanking new organs. Now each one of these implants are derived from a genetic material known as gene seed. Now this gene seed is derived directly from the Primarchs. Every single Space Marine ever created, be they loyalist or heretic, has some form of gene seed from some Primarch. Gene seed, however, like all rare things, is a very finite resource, because as I mentioned before, it is directly drawn from the biomanipulations of the Primarchs, meaning that no Primarch, no gene seed. And there are very few Primarchs left around. And because of this, the blood of the Primarch flows through each of the Space Marines' veins. Quite literally, really. It is a chapter's most single valuable resource, for it allows not only the creation of more Battle Brothers and Space Marines, but it allows the continuation of the chapter and their heritage. Every single chapter of Space Marine must induct new warriors into its ranks in order to survive. Simple as, you have to. So much so that it's considered a punishment for Space Marines to not be able to recruit for a certain amount of years. The most notable example we have are being penitent crusades. Like after some big nonsense, say like the Badab War, the Elementors were sent on a penitent crusade. For about 100 or 200 years, they could not recruit any new neophytes, and they had to fight like that. That was a punishment. Another way of censoring a Space Marine could be the removal of Chapter 5 worlds. Generally speaking, each and every chapter will have at least one chapter monastery, and that is placed on the planet, and they recruit aspirants from said planet. These are usually feral worlds or death worlds, basically worlds that breed a strong, warlike people. Though in some cases like the Ultramarines you can have multiple, but they are more on the rare end. Or you can have a crusading chapter that literally recruits from everywhere. Aspirants are always chosen as use. Again, as I mentioned before, generally speaking it's roundabout prepubescence, but it varies. But generally speaking, younger is better. Mainly because if they become too mature, the gene seed organs will actually reject them. Something about getting to the young lad and allowing the body to grow around the organs and to accept them and to grow with them. Once you reach a certain point in your age cycle, you kind of like stop growing, or you were solidified as being grown in some areas. So it really does mess with the gene seed, which are meant to be part of a Space Marine. And as I said, these gene seed implants work with an aspirant's own body, which then allow the Space Marine organs to do what they need to do. However, organ implantation goes hand in hand with severely harsh physical routine. Not just physical training, but spiritual as well. A Space Marine must be of sound mind, body, and soul. And this is achieved by a variety of means. Hypnotic suggestion, prolonged meditation, psychological and spiritual testing, not to mention the gradual initiation of the rites and traditions of said chapter. These vary from chapter to chapter and could be literally anything, like the Raven God having to catch a bird, which is far more difficult than you think it is, and the Salamanders having to slay a dragon. But regardless, all these and more serve to harden a Space Marine's mental prowess and sharpen his instinctual senses, giving him the opportunity to be the best boy he can, and to truly prove himself worthy of being an Adeptus Astartes. But let's talk about what these actual organs are. And like the last time I did this isn't going to be a speedrun. First off, we have the Susan membrane, the Hibernator. This brain implant allows a Space Marine to enter a voluntary state of suspended animation. AKA, if he gets really banged up, or he's really tired, or he just needs to recover, he can just be put on like a pseudo coma and just like wait, his body is paused, so it's like pause on the death. We then have the Oculobe, the Eye of Vengeance. This organ grants the Space Marine's eyesight that is sharper and more capable in low light environs than a normal man's, aka night vision, thermal vision, heat vision, and they can see way farther. The Betcher's gland, the poison bite. The modified salivary gland that produces acid, literally acid spit. The neuroglottis, the devourer. This enhances a Space Marine's sense of taste and smell so that he can identify traces of toxins and nutrients. Basically, if a Space Marine takes a drink of something, he can tell if it's been laced with some dope or not. The progenoids, the gene seed. Space Marines have two of these glands, one on the neck and one on the chest. New gene seed organs are made from mature progenoids that have been removed and cultured. This is the thing that apothecaries always say they have to get. Basically, this is something that grows the other organs, and when implanted in a Space Marine, it allows for their manufacturing and for their upkeep. Basically, this is the gene seed, hence it literally has the name of the gene seed. We then have the Lyman's ear, the Sentinel. Implanted within the inner ear, this can filter out or enhance specific sounds and provides a superior sense of balance. So whereas a normal concussion grenade would knock a normal human off their feet and give them ringing ears, to a Space Marine, they really just don't care. We then have the multi-lung, the Imbibler. The Space Marine can close off their normal lungs in favor for a bio-engineered multi-lung that can breathe poisoned atmospheres and even water. The third lung, it allows them to breathe underwater or breathe in toxic fumes. Now when I say toxic fumes, I mean stuff like chlorine gas, Chlorine gas, nothing to a space marine. Something say like the World Eater virus, they're still gonna feel that. The secondary heart, the maintainer. This boosts blood supply and can maintain full life functions even after the primary heart's destruction. Literally a backup heart. Your main heart gets destroyed, well you got a second one. Simple as. Though, from what I've heard, they seem to be relatively close together, which kinda defeats the purpose. Like, wouldn't you want one heart on either side so that if like one person gets stabbed through one, does it take out both? Of course, that could just be like writing issues. I don't know, just take that a little bit with a grain of salt. The Castle Sapien node, the unsleeping. This implant controls the flow of circadian rhythms and responses to sleep deprivation, allowing a space marine to stay awake at full effectiveness for days at a time. So for those of you who don't know, normal human beings, we can only go 2 days roughly without sleep before it starts actively affecting us, like permanently. Space marines, however, they don't have that, and they can go days at a time, possibly even weeks without single sleep. The Pinot Noir, the neutralizer. This pre-stomach allows digestion of otherwise poisonous or inedible materials. So let's say a space marine for one reason or another decides to indeed take the roofied drink. So long as it's nothing that has been genetically bred to harm a space marine, it's not going to do anything to him because of this bad boy. The Homeophagia, the remembrancer. This absorbs genetic material from a space marine's meal, granting part of a person's or creature's memory by eating its flesh. Now when you think about it, this sounds a little weird, but if you think about it a little more, it kind of makes sense. How did someone die? Dip a finger in the blood, give it a little suck. Simple as. But then you get the blood angels, who have an overactive one, and well, yeah. We then have the Mercuranoid, or the Weaver. This implant secretes a waxy substance that steals and protects against extreme temperatures, even in a vacuum. Basically, it's resistance to all types of environment damage. Space marines can survive in normal temperatures that would kill a normal human, be they super hot, super cold, or a literal vacuum of space. Not for like forever long, but enough so they can get help. The interface, the Black Carapace. This stiff subcutaneous membrane links a space marine's nervous system to the neural controls of his power armor. Basically, it connects his nervous system directly to the power armor system, meaning that it doesn't feel like power armor. It feels like a second skin, and we'll get to that later. The Laramin's organ, the healer. This implant produces special blood cells that form an instant layer of scar tissue over a wound, staunching blood flow. Basically, if a space marine is bleeding, give him a few minutes and he'll stop bleeding. If at that, sometimes it's a few seconds, depends on how bad the wound is and what weapon it is. Pretty useful. The Os Medulla, the iron heart. This implant affects bone growth, resulting in a denser skeleton and a fused ribcage that protects against internal organs. Pretty simple, this makes space marine bones bigger and stronger. Also, it gives them a breastplate of rib bone. Which is pretty fucking cool if you think about it, natural armor. Pretty based. We then have the Hastamatium, or the blood maker. This implant alters the makeup of a space marine's blood, making it more efficient than that of a normal human. I mean, it says it on the box, chief, it's blood but better. The Melochromon, the skin shield. This organ releases photochromatic skin pigments that protects against radiation. Again, built-in rad resistance. With the Evulotic kidney, the purifier. This detoxification organ allows a space marine to survive powerful poison and gas attacks. Again, to a limit. Basically, if it's deadly to a normal human, it's not deadly to a space marine. If it's deadly to a space marine, well, it's something that can kill whole worlds. So those are the original organs of the OG space marines during the Great Crusade and for the longest time in 40k. But then again, Mr. Big Ol' Bobby Call came through, and then he decided to add 3 new ones with the Primaris. These are the sinew coils, the steel within. These are durametallic cables woven into the sinews, which increase strength and durability. Literally, steel cables in your muscle strands. Your muscles are now part metal, which is fucking badass, not gonna lie. The Magnificat, the amplifier. It increases growth, enhances function of other organs, especially the Vescopia and the Os Medulla. It's a little boost guy, which is quite nice. We all need a little pick-me-up. I imagine this is like the coffee of the space marine organs. And finally, we have the Belisarian Furnace, the Revitalizer. Now this is a dormant gland, and when triggered, it produces a hyper cocktail of combat stims and enhanced rapid flesh regrowth. Basically, it's built-in roids. When the space marine gets banged up, it gives him a little juice, bunch of adrenaline and creatine rushing through the son of a bitch. And there we go. So those are all the organs. As you can imagine, there are 22 of them, and there are a lot. But if you've been in 40k for long enough, you'll know that not all space marines have access to certain glands, the most notable being the Imperial Fists, who do not have a Betcher's gland. But then you also have cases like the Blood Angels, in which the Omophagia is severely carnivorous, and causes them to actually crash out now and again. But then that raises the question, which one of these organs do a space marine actually need as a minimum requirement? A lot of these are nice to have, but which one of these are the base? Without this, there is no space marine. And whilst the answer does look pretty obvious, we actually have some in-law reasoning behind it. But to talk about that, we gotta talk about gene seed mutation, aka when shit goes wrong. Gene seed mutation is a unique and weird thing. Basically, the Emperor made space marines to be a certain way, but for one reason or another, because of the unique genetic material of their Primarch or their homeworld or whatever reason, maybe it was Sinch, who knows, it caused specific mutations to form. Most common examples being the salamanders and their skin and their eyes, blood angels as I said with their nom-nom behavior, and the space wolves that can literally turn into werewolves. But these are generally speaking okay/nice mutations, flavor mutations one might say. But what a lot of people don't understand is that there are a lot of mutations that are certainly not this. Most prime example being the Emperor's Children. The Emperor's Children gene seed would be devoured by a blight plague. Basically, this particular plague was attracted to their particular DNA and literally ate it from the inside out, meaning that their gene seed reserves were non-existent. And it was only with the arrival of Fulgrim that his legion could be revitalized. A similar example would be with the Thousand Sons and Magnus, in which it would take Magnus's DNA to help try and stabilize the flesh change. Also a deal from Tzeentch that kind of went sideways, but that's a whole nother story. And in the previous video we did about Inductii, we know that sometimes processes can make Marines can be made faster or skipped entirely, a la the Imperial Fist and the Betch's Gland. However, something that a lot of people don't know, Carl did not only develop the Primaris Marines and give those boys into the world, he also helped stabilize the gene seed. We learned from Index Astartes 1 that before Carl came back, there was rampant gene seed mutation. Now this mutation caused organs to work less, work differently, or just not function at all. But more specifically, it's here that we learn, straight from the horse's mouth, that the two gene seeds that are outright stated to be the mandatory for a Space Marine are the Black Carapace and the Progenoids. These are the two organs that make or break any given chapter. The loss of either of these or a mutation in either of these is a death sentence to any chapter, be they First Founding Original Legion or Primaris. It does not matter. If you lose those two, you are dead. As you can imagine, having a full-on Space Marine chapter just go extinct because one of the organs decided, Lamau, I'm gonna be a little crazy, a little kooky, it's not exactly a good thing. Thankfully, however, Mr. Cole will come along and fix the issue. And has an upside in the lore and a downside outside of it. The upside, all Space Marines get to play with their organs again. And it's a good thing, like a really good thing. Because while exactly a Space Marine doesn't need to spit acid, having the ability to spit acid, even like in a combat situation against other Astartes, you lose your helmet and you're about to get stabbed to death, dudes lording over you, just like spit in his eye, done. And it actually stops him because it's acidic spit that is destroying his lenses. It gives you that little leg up. It's a nice thing to have, and Space Marines are supposed to be the best of the best. And generally speaking, in lore this is great, but outside of lore, and a big thing that a lot of the community was really worried about, was the removal of the fun and uniqueness that makes Space Marines Space Marines. Everyone was super worried that all Space Marines were going to turn into Ultramarines. But thankfully, this was not the case. Mutations like the Red Thirst and the Wolfen gene are still a thing. Basically, this is much more a workaround of, hey, all those small little things that we heard of, like the random obscure chapters being destroyed because of a gene seed mutation, they don't happen anymore. Which objectively is a great thing for the setting. But in the same vein, if you want your wolf boys to have wolfy fangs and fluffy tails, go ahead. You want your blood boys to have blood on them and literally be like munching on a heart? You can do that. Salamanders still have coal skin and red eyes. Thank God for that. But to include the biology section, we know that what makes a Space Marine because of two things. That is the Black Carapace and the Progenoids. But why? As we covered, the Progenoids are literally called the gene seed. They help grow and maintain every other organ. Without them, there is no Space Marine. This is the primary organ. If there is no Progenoids, there is nothing. So that kind of makes sense, but why the Black Carapace? And that is because of Space Marine power armor. The Black Carapace allows a direct nerve connection to Space Marines to their armor. You guys ever wonder why when you see Space Marines they don't look like they're wearing armor, they don't move like they're wearing armor? Well, that's because to them, they don't feel like they're wearing armor. They don't have that mental inhibity that is preventing them from understanding, hey, I'm not actually myself, I'm wearing like this big restrictive suit. They don't feel it, they don't care about it. To them, it's like they're running around butt-ass naked. Well, in the Emperor's Children case, they probably are, kinky bastards. So you may be saying, okay, I get it, like having power armor be like a second skin, that seems really important. But isn't all power armor kind of like that? And that is where we get into arguably one of the things that people get wrong about Space Marines. Not even like get it wrong, they just don't know how OP this part is. And that is their arms, armor, and training. As you can imagine, Space Marine training is just crazy. It's far and above everyone else. Their tactics and strategies are absolutely insane. Space Marines are Space Marines because of their ability, but as I mentioned before, the Space Marine recruit is not the same as a Space Marine. It's said directly by the Emperor himself that Space Marines are forged in battle. So if you guys have looked into my Space Marine initiation video, highly recommend it. Anything, literally anything that a Space Marine does, any chapter, be they First Founding, Primaris, or anything, their training regime and their recruitment scheme is fucking mental. As I mentioned, The Salamanders, you have to slay a dragon. The Raven Guard, you literally have to catch a raven through a forest. That is very fucking hard. The Blood Angels have to be submerged in a coffin of blood for over a year. The Dark Angels have to go through such incredible psycho-indoctrination therapy that it can break even Space Marines. And the Iron Hands literally have their hand cut off and replaced with bionic. All of these and more are wild, and they are mental, and they are just crazy. Now, when it comes to like the tanks and aircraft, ironically though, this is something that the Space Marines are most likely to humans in that case. Cause yeah, while a Space Marine tank crew is better than like a Lehman Russ crew, they're not that much better. Now, what do I mean when I say this? I mean, a perfect example is the Battle of Talon. The Iron Warriors fought the Imperial Guard, and the Guard won. Now granted, there's a bunch of reasons as to why, but at the end of the day, a Lehman Russ Vanquisher against a Predator, that fight isn't as skewed as you think it is. But do you know where the fight really is skewed? A normal Space Marine versus a Guardsman. And that is where we come to the truest answer of what really makes a Space Marine in terms of their arms, armor, and weapons. That being the power armor. Within the Imperium, no armor compares to Space Marine armor, except for Custodes or some very rare suits of Inquisitorial armor. Standard, baseline Space Marine power armor is so fucking good. Like, I need you to understand, Space Marine power armor is mental. It has so many abilities. They can recharge with special solar panels in the backpack in case the generator gets broken. Their boots are not only magnetic so they can stick on literally any surface that has a remotely amount of metal, but they also have inbuilt gyroscopic stabilizers. They can carry nutrient reservoirs, which basically means a Space Marine can go and carry on for basically forever. They can regulate temperatures, meaning that whether you be in the bloody Sahara Desert or the Northern Arctic, you can still feel like you're still at home with a solid degree. They have various life support systems that have built-in auto-injectors that actually heal a Space Marine while they function. Their sensors allow them to see for miles out and in all types of conditions that amplify their already built-in training. Space Marine power armor is so far and above what we normal humans think. And again, I haven't even mentioned the main point of power armor. It amplifies strength. And the thing about it, it's exponential, meaning that a normal Space Marine already has the power of a normal human in power armor. You then take that Space Marine and give him his own uber power armor. You then have the monster infantry that is the Space Marine. Because again, a Space Marine can already see super far. A Space Marine can already heal super quick. A Space Marine can already punch through concrete without any power armor. A Space Marine can already do that. That is what a Space Marine is. So we're now taking that and giving it armor. Not just any armor, the best armor that can be mass produced. Space Marines are monsters. And here we see that a Space Marine in power armor can absolutely annihilate any amount of mortal infantry. Again, we see this quite clearly in Raw, when during the Siege of Acadia, the dude who was in charge of the Khorne Berserkers is appalled when they reach a 30 or 20 to 1 kill ratio for every Guardsman. They're like, that is wild, that is mad. This should be 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 at best. Like, how are you getting 20 to 1 in some cases or 30 to 1 in some cases? This is madness. Now, that guy literally called it obscene. A Khorne Berserker was like, this is too much. That goes to show you just how strong Space Marines are and how much ass they're supposed to kick when fighting normal humans. But to sum up, what do you need to make a Space Marine? So, in terms of the biology, the minimum that you need are 2 gene seed organs, the progenoid glands and the black carapace. Those are the bare minimum. Secondly, training. You have to find them relatively early, and they have to be put through intense mental, physical, and spiritual training. They gotta do that dumb shit. They gotta catch a bird, they gotta slay a dragon, they gotta be locked in a blood coffin. That is part of the Space Marine experience. There is no such thing as a normal Space Marine experience. And things though, it's not just physical. You could be like the Ultramarines, who they literally have to run a planet, and run a planet well. Now you may be thinking, oh no, that's easy. Anyone who's been like any type of managerial position will tell you running anybody anywhere is fucking hard. So that is health as well. So a Space Marine has to do dumb shit mentally, physically, and spiritually. Finally, in terms of arms and armor, the main thing that they need is power armor. They need that power armor. They need it. That is part of what makes a Space Marine a Space Marine. In addition, you could add the 2 most iconic Space Marine weapons, the bolt gun and its many variations, and the humble chainsword. That, if you literally just have Space Marines with that, you have a Space Marine that can destroy any normal mortal human force. And against other Space Marines, depending on their training, they could do pretty well as too. So the absolute bare bones budget Timu Astartes has 2 gene suit organs, being the progenoid glands and the black carapace, has a suit of regular good old power armor, is armed with a bolter and a chainsword baby, and of course like a combat knife and some frag grenades because those are always nice to have. So that there is your bare bones basic Astartes. But let's say for whatever reason, you start off as normal Astartes, but catastrophe, warp magic, Tzeentch nonsense, whatever it is, and you have to be reduced. What 3 organs would I then next say are the best? AKA, which 3 organs would I add if I had to pick? Well, the first one's pretty simple, and that's the secondary heart. Should be easy enough. The second heart is just super nice, means that you can lose one and still have the other one to work. Or, let's say one is damaged, it can rest and the other can keep on functioning. Of course, as I said, I would put them one on either side of the chest because, that just makes more sense to me. I don't know how they're, arranged normally. Secondly, the catalepsin node. Being able to function longer is a benefit, period. Simple as. I really don't have to explain why being able to stay awake on watch for literal days without sleeping or getting tired is good. Third is the Hastamatian, the one that patches up the blood. Now these guys are significantly squishier than normal Space Marines, so they need all the help they can get. And not just bleeding out is a benefit. Let's say your armor gets pierced by some shrapnel, just you won't get the shrapnel and that clots itself automatically. That's incredible. For those who don't know, in combat scenarios, bleeding out due to shrapnel or like a bullet wound or simply just bleeding out for whatever reason is so incredibly high on the reason for casualties and fatalities. Because it's really hard to stop blood from just gushing out. So having that built in, it's nice. It's really nice. So taking a look at all this, we can see that there is a lot that goes into making a Space Marine. Far more than many people think, and far more than many people expect. We can see that Space Marines are made to be the perfect soldier. Not only in terms of their arms, armor, and equipment, being given the greatest power armor, amazing weapons, and bombastic training, but we see that they're also meant to be a symbol. The final line of that quote, the one said by the Emperor, is the most impactful. They are the defenders of humanity, and they shall know no fear. Fear is such a primal, terrible evil that has plagued the race of humanity for as long as we've been alive. You think about your own personal life, and all the trials and tribulations that you've faced. Fear has been the #1 bastard preventing you from going anywhere. My hands raised too, fellows. I speak from experience. Fear. Irrational, unnecessary, unbound, untempered fear is such a primal force that holds us down and prevents us from doing anything, or worse, prevents us from having anything good. Space Marines are meant to be stripped away from that fear. They have no fear, they have no worry, they have no anxiety. To a Space Marine, there is only one thing, and that is duty. His duty is to fight and to die for the Imperium and its people. Space Marines are meant to rise above that fear. They're meant to be something completely wholly and utterly different. And I believe that the arms and armor which they bear, the training which they get, represents that. A normal human can't slay a dragon. One of us might be able to, but to have thousands of them just ready to kill a dragon? That's not normal. To have normal humans being able to run so fast that they can catch up to cars, that's not human. Normal humans can't break concrete with our bare hands. We can't stare down demons and have the demons flinch. We can't do that. That's not us. But Space Marines, though, they can do all of that. They're unbound by the shackles of fear. And because they know no fear, they know no defeat, they know no anxiety, they know nothing that holds back humanity. So because of that, they can take up the arms, armor, and equipment and be something more than human. Now, yes, some may argue they lose some of that humanity by giving up their fear. Well, there's a price for everything. There's a saying from my country, nix for mahala. Nothing for free, my brother. But to me, the idea of this poorly run Space Marine with not but 2 organs, a bolter, a chainsword, power armor, hopes and dreams is still more than we normal humanity can be. Because it doesn't matter what type of Space Marine he may be. Every Space Marine knows no fear. And if you know no fear, then you are not human. You are something completely above that. You are a Space Marine. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you'll enjoy today's video. Let me know what you think down below. Which 3 organs would you choose? I think my choices are pretty solid. You know, my team and I worked and we came to this and we're like, yeah, no, this is pretty solid. But let me know down below. Would you guys make any differences? Would you add +1 or subtract 1? And from the OGs of the community, which Space Marine weird genetic mutation from a weird chapter is your favorite? Love to hear all your thoughts and more down below. I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching, but even more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. A massive shout out to my Officer Corps with my amazing Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Majora of the Void. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith.Fireheart, Mr. Corns Butcher, Mr. Sean RL7, Mr. Bullwin, and Mr. Matthew Merrill. Shout out to my Corporal tier members, Tremail the Math Kitty, Lord Rosarius, Shauna Smithers, Tech Priest Toaster, and the Winch of Warhammer. And finally, but certainly not least, shout out to my privateer members, Mr. Thomas Was Lawns, Mr. Niva_SVW, Mr. Michael Hayeda, Mr. Artorius Kurtz, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortus Unum, Mr. Gentle Salamander, Mr. CMD Neo, Mr. Simon Kamu, Mr. Dan Marek, and Mr. Weaselhack. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys are amazing. Member-only content coming very soon. In fact, it should be up today. Today being Friday, or Saturday, Monday, give or take. But Sunday with the memberships, you gain early access to these videos, bunch of awesome behind the scenes stuff, some member-only content, my love and support, and most of all, you get to help out the channel. And I am trying to make this my full-time vocation, and the more that you guys do, the more I can make that reality, which is fucking wild. But remember, if you guys want to support this channel, like, share, comment, subscribe, and share the video with a friend. Literally, it helps more than you ever know. Even just commenting, thanks, you're awesome. And I see like a couple of you folks doing that, and it warms my heart. I love y'all and appreciate you. But remember, whether give your boy $1 or not, I will love you just the goddamn same. Mwah! But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, amazing people. Thank y'all also very much for watching. Y'all make sure to say hello there, boys and gals. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers! Honestly, I had this weird, funky idea of like Space Marines, but they're not Space Marines. Basically, they have like the power armor or like a stripped down version of the power armor and just the progenoids and the black carapace, and then you can make like thousands of them. But like, whereas a normal Space Marine chapter has like 1,000, these dudes have like a couple thousand because they're so shit. It's like a hybrid between God and Space Marine. I don't know if this could work. I don't know if this is just bullshit. I have a lot of bullshit ideas. This might be one of them. But hey, let me know your thoughts down below. Okay, bye.